My best friend called me poor for cleaning houses. 2 years later, she knocked on my door wearing a cleaning uniform and holding a bucket. For 1 second, I wanted to laugh. I wanted to repeat every cruel thing she had once said to me. I wanted her to feel as small as she had made me feel. But then I looked at her face and understood something. Life had already delivered the lesson. I didn't need to make it hurt more. My name is Laura. I'm 28 years old. And 2 years before Daniela appeared at my door, my entire life had fallen apart. I was studying accounting. I had a plan: graduate, find a stable job, help my mother, build a quiet, secure life. I was the kind of student who color-coded her notes and created lists for the lists she had already made. I believed that if I worked hard enough and planned carefully enough, life would eventually cooperate. Then my mother became seriously ill. It wasn't something that disappeared after a few appointments and a prescription. Her illness changed everything. The medication was expensive. She missed work. There were specialist visits, transportation costs, and bills our insurance refused to cover completely. I tried to continue studying while helping her, but every hour in class felt like an hour I should have been earning money. Eventually, I left college halfway through the semester, not because I couldn't handle the material, because my mother needed help immediately, and a degree couldn't pay for medication that week. I took the first work I could find: residential cleaning. At the beginning, I told myself it was temporary. I would clean houses for a few months, stabilize things at home, and return to school. But temporary situations have a way of becoming your life when every new paycheck is already assigned before you receive it. I started waking up before sunrise. I carried cleaning supplies on buses. I scrubbed bathrooms, kitchens, floors, and windows until my knees hurt and the skin around my fingers cracked. The work was exhausting, but it was honest, and it paid quickly enough to keep food in the refrigerator and medication in the cabinet. Daniela had been my best friend since high school. We had survived bad relationships, family arguments, failed exams, and every embarrassing stage of growing up together. At least, I thought we had. When my mother became sick, Daniela sent supportive messages at first, then she became busy. Weeks passed without seeing her. Sometimes she would ask how things were going, but the conversations felt shorter every time. One afternoon, after months of distance, she texted me, "Coffee? I miss you." I was genuinely happy. When life becomes heavy, you miss the people who knew you before everything changed. I arrived at the cafe early. Daniela arrived 20 minutes late. She was dressed beautifully: new handbag, perfect hair, expensive sunglasses resting on top of her head. She had recently started working for a real estate company, and almost every photo she posted seemed to involve a rooftop, a restaurant, or someone holding a glass of champagne. She sat down and looked at me, not at my face, at my clothes, my hands, my shoes. Then she asked, "So, are you still cleaning houses?" There was something in her tone, not curiosity, evaluation. "Yes," I said, "for now." She nodded slowly. "And you're okay with that?" "I'm doing what I need to do." "What about college?" I had to pause it. Daniela stirred her coffee. "I don't know how you do it." "Do what?" "Live like this." I stared at her. "I'm taking care of my mother." "I know, I'm not criticizing you." She absolutely was. "I'm just worried you're getting too comfortable," she continued. "Sometimes people tell themselves they're surviving, and then 5 years pass and they're still in the same place." "I'm not comfortable." "You know what I mean." "No, I don't." She sighed as though I was making the conversation difficult. "I'm trying to surround myself with ambitious people, people who are moving forward, and lately it feels like we're living completely different lives." I could feel heat rising into my chest. "Are you saying I'm not ambitious because I clean houses?" "I'm saying your environment matters." "My environment?" "If you spend all day around people who are struggling, eventually struggling starts to feel normal." I looked at her for several seconds. Then she said the thing I never forgot. "You are what you do, Laura, and I just don't want you to wake up one day and realize you became poor because you accepted a poor person's life." I was too shocked to answer immediately. She knew why I had left college. She knew about my mother. She knew I wasn't cleaning houses because I lacked dreams. And she still looked at me as though I had become something beneath her. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tell her that her new job and expensive bag did not make her better than anyone. I wanted to throw every weakness she had ever trusted me with back into her face. But if I exploded, she would walk away and tell everyone I was jealous, the poor, bitter friend who couldn't handle honesty. So I stood. I picked up my bag and said, I hope you never have to learn how quickly life can change what you think you're worth. Daniela looked offended. I was trying to help. No, you were trying to feel above me. I walked out. That night, I cried in my car before going inside to see my mother. I cried because I was tired, because my body hurt, because someone who knew me better than almost anyone had reduced my entire life to a uniform and a bucket. For several days, her words stayed in my head. You are what you do. Then something changed. I stopped asking whether cleaning made me less successful. I started asking whether I was doing the work as well as I possibly could. If cleaning houses was what supported my mother, then I would stop treating it like a humiliation I had to escape. I would learn everything I could from it. So I paid attention. I noticed which clients respected appointments and which ones canceled without warning. I noticed that wealthy clients didn't only want someone who could clean, they wanted reliability, discretion, consistency, someone who entered their home, understood what needed to be done, and didn't create another problem they had to manage. I also learned how vulnerable cleaners could be. One afternoon, a client accused me of stealing a ring. She didn't ask whether I had seen it. She looked directly at me and said, "Put it back and we can forget this happened." My hands started shaking. I had never touched her ring. I am not leaving with that accusation hanging over me, I said. We can search the house together, or you can call the police, but I did not steal from you. She seemed surprised that I defended myself. We found the ring inside a cosmetic bag in her bathroom. She barely apologized. She simply said, "Oh, there it is." That night, I realized I could not spend my entire life depending on whether someone else felt fair that day. I needed records, policies, references, protection. I started treating the work like a business. I created fixed service lists and clear prices. I sent confirmation messages. I documented the condition of expensive areas before and after cleaning. I asked satisfied clients for written recommendations. At night, after my mother fell asleep, I watched videos about marketing, bookkeeping, scheduling, and customer service. Accounting taught me how to think in systems. Cleaning taught me what the system needed. Within a few months, several clients began recommending me to their neighbors. Then, one property manager asked whether I could handle 3 apartments in the same building. I couldn't do them all alone, so I asked another cleaner I trusted to work with me. Then I hired a second person. I trained them both carefully, not only in how to clean, but in how to enter someone's home professionally. No gossip, no photographs, no guessing about valuables, no unclear prices, no promises we couldn't keep. I named the business Clear Home Residential Services. It started with 3 people, then 5, then 2 regular teams and a part-time scheduler. The growth was not dramatic. There was no magical moment where everything suddenly became easy. Some clients paid late. Some employees quit without warning. I made pricing mistakes. I accepted jobs I should have refused. There were weeks when I worried I would not cover payroll. But I kept learning. Within a year, I was no longer searching desperately for individual cleaning jobs. Property managers were calling me. Realtors hired us to prepare homes before listings. A small luxury apartment company offered us a recurring contract. I moved my mother into a more comfortable apartment close to her doctor's. Then I rented a modest place of my own. It wasn't a mansion. It had 1 bedroom, a bright kitchen, and large windows that filled the living room with sunlight. But it was mine. I had earned it, doing the same work Daniela had used to define me as poor. I never contacted her. I didn't post photographs hoping she would see them. I didn't need her to know. That was the first sign that I was actually healing. 2 years after the coffee shop conversation, Clear Home was preparing for its biggest opportunity yet. A company that managed several luxury residential buildings was considering hiring us for its move in, move out, and model apartment cleaning. If we won the contract, I could hire another permanent team and offer better health benefits to my employees. The final meeting was scheduled at my apartment. The client wanted to see how I personally organized and maintained a real living space, not a showroom prepared by someone else. The night before, one of my regular teams had an emergency at another property. The second team was fully booked. I needed a deep clean before the presentation, but I also needed the morning to review my proposal. My scheduler used a staffing company we occasionally hired when we needed temporary help. She booked a supervised 3-person crew. I never saw the workers' names. I was more concerned with budgets, insurance requirements, and the presentation that could change my company. That morning, I heard the doorbell. I had coffee in one hand and my laptop open on the dining table. I walked to the door expecting the temporary crew. When I opened it, I stopped breathing. Daniela stood in the hallway. She was wearing a cleaning uniform. Her hair was tied back. In one hand, she held a bucket, in the other, a bag of cleaning supplies. Behind her stood the team supervisor and another worker. Daniela looked at me as though she had seen a ghost. Laura? I nodded. Her eyes moved past me into the apartment. What are you doing here? For one second, I almost smiled, not because it was funny, because the question was so absurd. I live here. Her face changed. She looked at the furniture, the large windows, the business documents on the table, the Clear Home logo on my presentation folder. Then she looked back at me. You own Clear Home? Yes. The supervisor stepped forward. Good morning. We're the overflow team your office booked. Where would you like us to begin? I explained what needed to be done. The kitchen, the guest bathroom, the floors, the glass doors near the balcony. My voice remained professional, but inside I was fighting with myself. Part of me wanted to say, so are you still cleaning houses? Part of me wanted to ask whether she had finally become comfortable with less. Part of me wanted the same look she gave me in that cafe to return to her face. I am not proud of that impulse, but it was there. Then I looked at her uniform, the bucket, her nervous hands, and I remembered what it felt like when people looked through me. I did not want to become the person who hurt me. So I offered the team water and returned to my presentation. They worked quietly. Daniela avoided looking at me. About 20 minutes later, while the supervisor was cleaning the balcony doors, Daniela approached the dining table. Laura? I looked up. I didn't know this was your place. I assumed you didn't. She glanced toward the hallway. I lost my job last year. I waited. The real estate company downsized. Then I had some debt. Things got bad. I'm sorry. She seemed surprised. You don't have to say that. I know. Her eyes began filling with tears. I've thought about what I said to you. I closed my laptop. Have you? Yes. She looked down at her hands. I was horrible. I didn't disagree. I thought I was doing well, she continued. I thought that meant I understood how life worked. Then everything disappeared so quickly. Her voice broke. I'm not asking you to feel sorry for me. Good. She nodded. You deserve that. I took a breath. No, Daniela, you don't deserve to be humiliated because you're cleaning houses. She looked at me. The work was never the thing that made you small. The way you looked at people doing it was. She covered her mouth briefly, trying not to cry. I'm sorry. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she asked, Do you hate me? No. That answer was true. But I also don't trust you the way I once did. She nodded. I understand. I hope you do. The supervisor called her name from the other room. Before walking away, Daniela said, You proved me wrong. I shook my head. I wasn't building this to prove you wrong. That's why it worked. She returned to the team. When they finished, I inspected the apartment. The work was excellent. I thanked all three of them and left a tip for the team. Not a special tip for Daniela. Not less because of her either. The work deserved respect. An hour later, the potential client arrived. The presentation lasted almost 2 hours. They asked difficult questions about staffing, quality control, insurance, and how I handled client complaints. I was nervous, but I knew my business. I had built every system from experience. 2 weeks later, Clear Home received the contract. I hired another team. Several months after that, I was able to offer partial health coverage to my permanent employees. That meant more to me than the apartment, more than the contract, more than seeing Daniela standing at my door, because I knew what it felt like to work physically demanding jobs without protection. I never saw Daniela again. I heard that she stayed with the staffing company for several months and later found an administrative position. I don't know whether the experience truly changed her. That part is no longer my responsibility. For a long time, I imagined that success would feel like standing above everyone who had underestimated me. It didn't. Real success felt quieter. It felt like paying my mother's medical bill without panicking. It felt like employees trusting me to pay them on time. It felt like opening my door, seeing the person who once humiliated me, and realizing I no longer needed to hurt her back. That doesn't mean I became a saint. A part of me enjoyed the irony. A part of me wanted her to remember every word. But healing was choosing not to turn that feeling into cruelty. Daniela had told me, "You are what you do." She was wrong. A job can change. Money can disappear. Titles can be taken away. The uniform was never what made either of us valuable, and it was never what made either of us poor. So let me ask you honestly, if someone who once looked down on you appeared at your door doing the exact job they had mocked you for, would you have treated them respectfully? Or would you have made them feel exactly what they once made you feel? Drop your verdict in the comments. Like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who has ever been judged by the work they had to do to survive. Because here, one story always leads to another.